you've worked with the luminaries of music in every genre. How do you make your name? Is it the Jay-Z moment, cuz you were on tour with him and you did the bass, right? That
Yeah,
was like a
I
big
played
moment for
bass.
you.
Yeah, Amir Quest was the musical director. You know what? I have a weird the, the thought process about me making my name was really about being everywhere. Like I don't know if it was just one thing. You know, arguably you could
Okay.
say Chappelle Block Party kind of like made me a little bit more visible. Or you could say Jay Z's Fade to Black movie concert made me a little more visible. You could say I did very early episodes of the Tonight Show when the Roots first got the gig or whatever. But it was really about being like, man, that dude is everywhere more than it is like
Oh,
more than it was one
I like it.
specific thing. You know what I'm saying? And again, that's encouragement by my family. That's a supportive, family supportive wife that was just like, yo, go do everything. And so I was doing clubs and jazz gigs, but at the same time taking the train to New York to Jay-Z rehearsal. You know what I'm saying? And then I
Mhm.
was like out on tour with Jay, but then coming home and writing out charts for the local theater just to try to do that, which put me in like a movie space too that my counterparts at the time couldn't do. Because they may have not been as musically tech savvy as I was learning how to read and write music from college. So
Yeah, and you have a hustle muscle
it's
that is
different. It's
undeniable,
different.
and it's
I mean,
it's different. And
you got
even
that too though, because I'm liable to see you on 13 different.
they're different networks, absolutely, and speaking very different things. Like I can speak to the Black experience, I can talk politics, I can do sports, I can do it
Yeah,
all, and I don't think that we limit
you
ourselves.
can.
But I really am fascinated by how you came into my atmosphere. And then I felt like once you were in my atmosphere, I saw you everywhere. And I feel that's how people
Yeah,
feel. Like you meet you once, and then and now you're alert and you're
yeah,
aware.
it's about
Most
awareness. You know
recently,
how we got that dream car, and then you just see it driving down the street every time. You like, God dang.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
you
think I
do.
should
And
go
I
get that.
also, yeah, I also think this is funny. I'm gonna go by just a list of achievements, because if you're listening, you've already ascertained that he's worked with everybody big in the business in some capacity. But we talked uh, about the day after the Super Bowl. You did, arguably to me, you were the musical director for one of the two of the, if not, never mind, all of them. Some legendary Super Bowl performances. Like I can't even. I'm like, you know what? That's not even fair. All of them. You've done them for the last five, but I would love to talk about the West Coast hip hop Super Bowl performance, which was
Yes.
legendary. Then you had everybody guessing about Rihanna, and not only do we look back on that now, I know as a woman, I look back on that now and think I can't even imagine what she was doing or
Yeah, going
thinking.
through right.
Um, Going through as a pregnant woman performing, and people wanted her to spit on her head, and I'm all like, do you know how difficult it was for her just to even elevate, to get up that
The
high and
equilibrium,
perform
just
and
to
rehearse?
you know what I mean? Her
She looked like she wanted to, at one point I was like, is she gonna throw up, because this is tough, and she's still giving her all to
for
everybody,
sure.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I those two moments specifically definitely I ain't gonna say made me a household name, but it's like, now I go to All Star and they like, yo, Adam, what's up? You know what I mean? And it feels good because like number one is for the culture. Number two, my goal, I think I told you this before, but my goal for the West Coast Hip Hop Super Bowl was to not let it just be about black excellence. I think I wanted people who were not fans of hip hop to leave that show or leave watching that
Correct.
show being like, I respect it. It is just as genius as what Bruce Springsteen did, what Billy Joel, what Mick Jagger could do. And I think we achieved that, like straight up,
Absolutely,
we had no
absolutely.
hiccups, we had no violence, we had no tiffs. It was just a great experience. I was able to leave that experience and win an Emmy for best musical direction. And
Congratulations. I was about to
yeah,
say,
and
you
I
got an Emmy. Let me tell you what you did. You accomplished the mission. It was accomplished in the sense that West Coast hip hop is mainstream
yeah,
music. When I saw these 50 and 60-year-old white women dancing in a living room on
going
IG and
crazy.
TikTok, They were going crazy, and it's exactly what we would have wanted but hadn't imagined that it was possible. It felt very special just for us, but it was for
It
everybody,
was
and you were able
definitely
to
for
accomplish
everybody.
that.
It was definitely for everybody. We accomplished that, and I think even in the room, just to see the response, and honestly, man, that Jay Z, he just is such a genius because I'm sure he knew this then, but I didn't. But he has opened the door with that being as successful as it was. Dr. Dre as well, but I'm talking as Jay as a producer now, and Rock Nation as a producer, has opened the door for the NFL and even other of the five majors to really embrace hip hop and say people will support this, people will buy this. And so, we get to Utah, right, for NBA All Stars,
Yeah,
which is my
yeah.
favorite gig of all
And
time.
then you do and then you do Afro
And then we
beats
did Afro beats in Utah. Cari, I thought that was
at All Star.
one of
At
the
All Star.
I thought that was one of the most far fetched ideas when it was on paper. And this has nothing against Tim's, one of my favorite, Burna, arguably
Sure.
top five
Sure.
in the world
All
right now.
all my faves. All my faves.
But I was just like, wait, what? And then it worked. We saw the global capability of what our people, how we impact the world. You know what I'm saying?
But are we surprised because our culture is in everything and it's usually co-opted and changed into
That's
theirs,
very true.
but we said no,
We
we
shouldn't
own
be
this.
surprised, but we are still made to
We
feel like the
shouldn't.
minority at times. And I got to be honest, working
Sure.
for a corporation, it doesn't matter what corporation I'm talking about, we are still not the majority. So it's like when
Correct.
they embrace us, at times it's like, are y'all sure what you got up your sleeve? Like,
There's all we're all we are wired to be anxious
mm.
because that is why that's all we've
Why
understood.
you
What
think
else is
that
about
is
to
though? I'm
happen?
gonna ask you, coming from a corporate job. Like, why do you think,
Well, because culturally they don't really understand us. They don't see the humanity in black people. They don't know our hearts. Now, I'm not saying this. I'm not saying this as a slight.
No, no,
I'm
no.
saying it as we
And it's
live
not
in a
across the
country
board. We're just
that
talking.
it's not across the board, but we're just saying in general, it's not the onus isn't on them to learn about African Americans. The onus is on us to learn about them.
Mm,
And if you have never ever felt like you've needed to learn about another culture, their music, their dance, their style, who they are, why they move that way, doesn't affect your day-to-day life.
yeah,
It really doesn't. We have to live consistently in a world where we interact with them. They can live in a world where they don't have to interact with us. And that's
that's
not
crazy.
a slight. It's just what it
It
is.
just is what
So
it
that's
is.
why we are exactly. And so we're anxious when we are in these environments. But I love that our music has always been the connect the dots. And you're specifically what you're doing is bringing what we already know is great in mainstream to the forefront.
Thank
And
you.
you've been able to do that in so many different ways. So what's up with next year's Super Bowl? Tell me who's performing. You can give me the exclusive right now. I won't share with anybody,
All right,
just
here
the
we go.
folks who are
The
listening. Go
exclusive is drum roll. Super Bowl is in Las Vegas. Woo! That's all I got. That's all I got for you, girl.
I know that. I know that.
Oh, okay.
I
Well,
know that.
I was trying to give you some.